Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Just Another Esports podcast. Once again, you're joined by me, your host, Nicholas Shitty Bacon, and my co-host, Mr. Kevin Hubers. This past weekend, we finished out the Stage 2 group play, leading into the Stage 2 major. That's going to be kicking off today, obviously, as we're recording this on Monday. But when this is being released on Wednesday, the Stage 2 major will have finally kicked off. And so we kind of have the seeding for that as a result of the past weekend's matches. I actually did really well in the predictions this time around. The two matches that we differentiated on, I came out with the dub. Let's go. Slowly bridging the gap. Let's keep that train moving there. But I think we had some major upsets this weekend, as we kind of had all of the league pretty much for every week. There's like kind of at least one major upset, but it didn't really shift the group standings, kind of like the expected outcomes of the groups really at all. But we'll be recapping kind of those matches that happened, and then diving into our predictions for the Stage 2 major. And we'll kind of bring up talking points as we discuss kind of each of those matches as we have been doing. Since there is definitely a lot to talk about, especially with the 100 Thieves roster leading into this major. A lot to talk about around that one. But kicking off the week 3 of Stage 2, we had Dallas versus the Florida Mutineers. And this was a quick 3-0 for the Dallas Empire over the Florida Mutineers. Both you and I kind of thought it would be a bit closer of a series. I said it was going to go 3-2 to Dallas. You said it was going to go 3-1 to Dallas. But it ended up being a 3-0 there. And this kind of goes back to Florida's inconsistencies that we have been seeing from them. And Dallas still kind of going with maps that are seemingly favorable for their opponent too, at least in this Florida matchup.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
On
Sorry,
this episode.
I was filling in my prediction bracket, and I was like, all right, yeah. So you're talking about the Florida game, right? From last
Yes,
week.
Florida versus Dallas. Honestly, so Thursday's matches, there wasn't too much really going on. I mean, they were both 3-0s. Both of the outcomes were kind of ones that we saw coming. I
Well,
mean,
okay, so
Chicago looked kind of weak the week prior, obviously going 0-6. And so me and you were maybe a little bit skeptical on how Chicago would perform against Seattle, since Seattle had a strong showing in the prior week. But in the end, we both still thought kind of Chicago was going to come out with the W, and that they did. I mean, to kick off the weekend, we had 3 straight 3-0s. And I think the ones that occurred on Thursday were the ones that were a lot more likely, with Dallas versus Florida and Chicago versus Seattle. Like, those are kind of teams that you would expect. Chicago and Dallas, those are teams you would expect to take wins over the other
yeah, it
people
doesn't seem
in
like
their
anything was out of
group.
note. You're not
But
wrong.
the group did end up being extremely close. You had 3 teams that were 3-2 and 3 teams that were 2-3. So that's pretty much that's as close as kind of that group can get, outside of maybe somehow having a tie in the mix there, where you actually have to play like an extra match. I'm not sure kind of on how that would work out, or if that's even possible with the way they have kind of the tiebreakers with map wins, or who won the head-to-head matchup, like kind of how that all works out. But like, there's not too much to talk about, I guess, there, especially in kind of the Dallas matchup. I think here with Florida, like, there's not too much we can really discuss. I don't have any talking points that I want to bring up there, since I think for the most part, like, we've already kind of fleshed out what we think about those teams, and there wasn't really too much that we saw this weekend, at least in this Thursday matchup, that really kind of differed from anything that we had said in prior weeks.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. The only thing I will say is that like the 3-0 from the Mutineers is a little deceptive. I think that the all three of those games are really close. So it's not like Empire felt really comfortable after playing that, which may lead to why Optic felt a little bit better against them, later on down. But that's for Sunday. So I'm ready to go talk about Gorilla's phase.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely get to that one. The one thing I did want to bring up with the Chicago Seattle matchup, because it was one thing I really liked coming out of Chicago in the control on raid. A ton of times you kind of see where you see kind of this split where you have two people when defending the B point for control. They'll have like two people by the B point, and then they'll send two people kind of into the spawn of the offensive team. And a lot of times you'll see the offense kind of focus on these players in spawn. And there's a reasoning for that. It's because like if you clear them out, you have the quicker route to the B point to cap it. But I really like Chicago had enough time that they didn't need to care about spawns kind of at all. They had probably around like 2 minutes on the clock to get the B point since they already captured A, and they kind of just said fuck spawns. Like, you have two players over there, we're just going to leave them there. We're going to go all the way into your base, take your spawn, kill. We're going to push the two people out of that are defending the point, and then we're just going to force stack it and cap it. And that's like what they did. And I really liked that strategy out of Optic, because it's not we haven't seen teams do that, and it's something I've thought that teams should have done a lot sooner. Is like when you have the two people just camping in spawn, just doing like absolutely nothing to benefit their team. They're not killing anyone in spawn because the whole team just spawned back up and they went the other way. Like they're not able to assist their team that's gonna get 4v2'd in the point because they're too far away. So I really like that gameplay, that strategy from Optic to just say, fuck spawns, you guys can stay there. We're gonna push in through your base, through your spawns, and take the hill. I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
You have anything to say? That
as
strategy
far as
bad, or like it's
no,
good?
I think that they're doing fine, and I think that Optic. I mean, some of the things they definitely got lucky with the surge, like whenever Octane didn't hear.
That was a
Shoot,
different matchup.
which one are you talking about? Surge Chicago,
Uh,
right?
yeah, when Opte or we'll see the one where Octane didn't hear the player in the
Oh, was that
SMD.
that was the rocker? You're right.
No, that was the rocker one. Yeah,
Sorry, yeah, you're right,
yeah.
right,
We'll get
right.
to that. We'll get to that later. That one later.
I will say though that Pristini played really really well. In this match against Chicago, you cannot blame him. I think that he was objectively one of the best players on the map, even though they kind of got smoked. So,
Yeah,
I will say that like what what really happened there was I think that Formal and Octane, they got this thing going on, and you can watch it. If they start a gun battle with each other, they just stand there and they like finish it. They like it is to the death every time between Octane and Formal. So it's always interesting to see that, and I really think that Sam lost more often than Piper did, and I mean when that happens, you're gonna be able to do things like you know what Envoy and Scump can do. So um, yeah, I just think it was too much for the Surge at that point. Um, but it is interesting to see Optic really thrive under the changes.
yeah. But those were our two Thursday matchups. Moving on to Friday, which were our upsets. Well, yeah, I guess. Well, there was one major upset and there was one kind of lesser upset.
Right.
The lesser upset was the London versus Toronto matchup that we did see. Both you and I predicted London would come out on top in that matchup, 3-2 over the Toronto Ultra, but Ultra actually kind of just handed it to them, a swift 3-0 to the London
Yeah.
Royal Ravens.
Yeah, it was an ass beating. It was a really forgettable ass beating too. Like, I mean, I couldn't name anything like totally out of note with it because it was just done and dusted so fast.
Yeah, but like there was no like I know I didn't really have anything of to note for that. It was just kind of, I guess,
Well, the search
a
was kind of
surprising.
close. The search was kind of close because I mean it went to around 11.
Yeah,
But I mean, Hardpoint Ultra put up 250. London struggled to put up 140 on Checkmate. 6-5 on Raid, which you expect Toronto to just be better at. And then, I mean, London has never really been a good control team. They haven't really been a good anything team, but especially control.
yeah,
So
they had a really good control showing over like the LA Thieves last week, but as we'll kind of see this week, the LA Thieves is probably the worst team in the league right now, which is
yeah,
crazy to think of when coming into kind of this season and the legacy that they had in BO4. But before we talk about the disappointment with them, we'll talk about the non-disappointment of LA, the LA Gorillas. Man, who would have thought?
I know.
Who would have thought that the disappointment of LA would have been the Thieves and not the Gorillas? The Gorillas, they come out and they beat Atlanta. They hand Atlanta their first loss in the CDL
L.
for the 2021 season.
And you know
It
what it
goes
was?
all the way to a game 5.
You know what it was? Honestly, LAG just played so fucking patiently and just guessed right. That's really what happened. I mean, FaZe, like, you know how they play. They run at you, they bully you, they play for the trades, they play tight and close. Um, and I mean, these guys, like, I saw tons of little creddy spots that I'm gonna be using in league play over the next couple of weeks.
I mean, this
As,
week, LA is a team that does do a decent amount of prep work, and I mean, I don't think it
I think
was
so.
Atlanta underestimating their opponents. They aren't really the squad to kind of
No,
do that
they
this
just ran at
year.
him though. They really did the whole
They
time.
they did they it was an off day for Atlanta. Like they did not play as a team, and they knew that they know they didn't play as a
Right.
team. They've said it multiple times. And LAG, they were on their game kind of this entire weekend. I mean, Silly really had
Silly.
an insane weekend. He probably, I think he ended the weekend like at a 1.5 or something KD wise
Beast mode.
overall. Like he had a stellar weekend. And like if you have him showing up, and then also Apathy was doing well, and then Vivid's usually kind of right there as well, and they're not a terrible kind of S&D team, and that's kind of the one game mode where you can really put in the research
Right.
to take down a team, and especially if that other team is not on their game and not playing as a squad, then yeah, the prep work that you put in to beat them is going to really come together and work for you. And that's kind of what we saw happen here in this massive upset from the LA Gorillas over the Atlanta FaZe.
Yeah, 100%. Um, and I mean, I gotta hand it to him. Like this whole weekend, like my opinion of the Gorillas has vastly changed. I mean, first you take FaZe, which I mean still is unbelievable. Like the team to hand FaZe the L is this like silent but deadly LAG, and then like later on, I mean they hand the Thieves like the hottest 3-0 of, I don't know, probably the whole season. Like smoked them then too. So they had a great showing this weekend.
Yeah, yeah, they definitely did. And it'll be I don't think they're gonna have as good of a showing. Like this weekend, they were on point.
Yeah.
I don't expect them to be as on point as they were this weekend, kind of moving forward. But moving into our first Saturday matchup, this was the first one that we disagreed on. It was Paris versus the Florida Mutineers. I'm so happy I put my faith in the Paris boys. They came up big, coming away with the dub 3-1 over Florida. And yeah, Florida, they're just inconsistent, man. Honestly, I joked around with Josh, and I think we'll go into this because
Right.
it was after that Atlanta FaZe matchup. Actually, I believe Slasher tweeted a GIF at Octane of a coin being flipped, as it's been kind of termed the coin flip league, which I disagree with. I don't feel like the matches are that coin flippy. I feel like
Slightly.
yeah, I mean, we're our predictions are better than 50-50, at least currently. And when you watch kind of how the matches play out, it makes sense kind of why a team won over their opposition. And so during Josh's Mr. Salvation Elite's kind of viewing parties for the matches, I brought up, Octane keeps on calling the coin flip, but you know what? We're just gonna have a coin in our predictions from now on.
Oh my
So
God. Oh, okay. See,
he's adopting this because he really liked the idea, but we're also going to use it since I came up with it as well.
I
I
like it.
probably I obviously took it from some other broadcast somewhere probably, but the we're gonna have a coin flipped for each of the matchups to determine. We got to compete with the coin. Right now, you're in the lead, and I'm trying to catch up to you. But we'll have to see. We both need to outperform this coin.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll have to send Octane an apology.
Yeah, we will. 100%. We know something.
But yeah, with this Paris matchup though, did you kind of see anything that concerned you outside of, I guess, kind of things that we've talked about in the past with this Florida Mutineers lineup of just kind of
Of
the
just playing
inconsistencies that they've
inconsistently
had?
against weird teams. Yeah, I mean that this seems pretty on brand for the Mutineers, and this is kind of what in the end is gonna like screw them over. Is they're used to having to like compete against the top tier teams, and that's their primary focus. Maybe they're not as prepared against a Paris Legion, or
Yeah,
like
they
one of the
also
Royal
played
Ravens.
Paris on some of their best maps, didn't they? I believe after kind of the matchup, a lot of people were saying it was kind of veto diff was one of the reasons that Paris came out on top in this matchup was simply they got to play more of their good maps.
Yeah,
So
and
that's kind of what's going to happen. Yeah.
yeah, I really wish that the CDL would do a little bit deeper of a dive on the vetoes. I think the veto process is really fascinating, and
Yeah, I would
um,
love if the veto process was almost live, kind of like how you have your pick and ban for Champ Select for League of
yeah,
Legends.
yeah, exactly that kind of format. That'd be
I
sweet.
mean, honestly, at this point, I would like I would like to see it integrated into the game. That would be cool. That's not going to happen, but uh,
Yeah,
if
that's
they
not
can kind
happening.
of work out some way for the veto process to be live, so it's not just kind of thrown up on screen. I think broadcast should probably talk about it more often with kind of the statistics of how teams are performing on maps and how frequently a team has banned a map, since that is definitely something that can be looked at as a significant weakness with that team. If they're auto vetoing a certain map, teams can kind of take advantage of that with their own vetoes. But that was our first Saturday matchup. Our second day Saturday matchup was a spicy one. So Seattle Surge, it was Seattle Surge versus the Minnesota Rocker. And Seattle came out hot. They came out hot in this Minnesota Rocker matchup. They took the first two maps, they were up 2-0, and it was looking like they might pull off the 3-0 sweep over the Rocker. But they failed to kind of close out, clutch up in the control. And as soon as I saw Pristini's face cam after that control, I'm like, yeah, Minnesota's about to reverse sweep them. Because he is definitely an emotional player. And he was having, like, for the past week and a half up until this match, he was, even during this match, he was still playing extremely well. But something happened after that one, and kind of after every map, every time it went to his face, he just looked visibly annoyed, distraught, and kind of collapsing. And there was a huge tilt factor that I think went in to this reverse sweep for Minnesota over the Surge, on top of just some abysmal Miami S&D out of the Seattle Surge.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
But yeah, do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, uh,
Or do you think this is
Standy's still legit. Like, I don't think that this is a fluke. I think that Minnesota might actually be legit.
well, they
Um,
have first seed now.
yeah, that's
Because of
kind of a big deal.
Chicago beat Dallas. Spoiler. We haven't gotten to that yet. But uh, is kind of the tilt factor something of concern with Seattle? I think
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, um, it has to be. But I mean, who knows? They can regain, refocus prior to like going into the major. That's all on Joey Nubsy. He's got to be able to figure out how to turn this around and
yeah.
and get them back into fighting shape because I mean the Surge team is not that bad. Like
Yeah,
they're
it
they're
really does
starting to
go
look.
to show you though how pivotal like Pristini is for this roster because he's been performing kind of lights out the past week, 2 weeks, and they've been looking a lot better as a result of that. And then kind of after that control, you see him kind of physically annoyed, and things start to kind of fall apart for them. So maybe you got to kind of bring someone in, calm them down, kind of, but calm them down after kind of those losses. But then does that kind of take away from the reason that you have Pristini on the team? You kind of he is kind of that player that feeds off of emotions, and maybe you don't want him to be that cool, calm, and collected guy. And then you kind of maybe need the rest of the team to kind of uh, pick up the slack and kind of bring
Yeah,
him back in to those levels after kind of a loss that they maybe should have won. So it's a balancing act, I think, for these players that are kind of the key player for their team that can really kind of make or break them. He is the fulcrum for the Seattle Surge. So it'll
yeah, for sure.
definitely
Like,
be Pristina's definitely the one to kind of keep your eye on.
hmm yeah, definitely. I mean, like when he's on, I mean, he's a beast. I mean, he does fill that Slayer role. Um, but when he's not on, it's just I don't know. I feel like honestly, there's so many little demons running around and challengers that you could find somebody who's a better Slayer, just somebody who's just got the game down, more pet. So,
Yeah,
um,
it'll be interesting to see if Seattle decides to bring anyone in. I'm not sure what their roster situation is like. If they're locked, kind of similar to Paris, or kind of similar to like last year. And that is something I kind of wanted to bring up was the philosophy of kind of locked rosters. Like, I mean, the rosters aren't technically locked. They can bring in players, but kind of unless something's kind of like weird with the amount that they're paying their players, that they can't uh, really realistically afford to bring anyone else on, or if the situation's kind of like with Paris, where they're like, hey, we're not spending any more money on anyone. You are the four we have, and we're sticking with you no matter what throughout at least the rest of the season. And kind of what are the pros and cons of locked rosters? Because when Octane, I don't know if like people really come on the flank with Zuma's podcast, talk show, what kind of like whatever it is, or if they kind of just jump into his Discord call or TeamSpeak or something. But the discussion of kind of locked rosters was brought up, and Octane looked at it as something that sucks, and that's just absolutely awful for the players of that team. And that's something kind of with Octane's mindset, and how he kind of views rosters and teams and his teammates. And there's definitely pros and cons to it. And I think the positive way to look at it, at least kind of the way I look at it, is okay, these are the four we have. These are the four we're stuck with. Once you kind of move on past that and kind of like the quote unquote suckiness of it, of like, oh, I'm stuck with these guys, then you can really start to kind of work together and come together as a team and actually make realistic improvements outside of kind of just looking at their mistakes and not so much on how they can improve upon those mistakes, and kind of just looking outside to maybe the challenger scene or to other rosters and be like, I want this player. We need this player. Why can't you be this player? And so kind of once you move past that, I feel, and kind of understand like, all right, this is the guys we're with. Let's make the best out of what we have. I feel like you can actually make a lot of progress.
yeah, but you also have to think like it's gonna be, like think of how many times the roster changed in the CWL. Like, I mean, um, until they got that whole roster mania situation under control, um, you know, rosters would change like crazy. You'd be like, all right, I'm going to one event with these four guys, and next event I've got different one different guy, maybe two of them, maybe a whole new fucking team. The competition is out there, and it's just a matter of like making that hard decision of who to let go. So
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we're gonna talk about that later with the thieves, but I figured we'll wait until we get to that
Yeah,
occasion.
the Thieves situation's a little bit different since their roster like isn't it's not locked. Like they've obviously have moved a bunch of pieces around. Um, and so I guess it's a little they're kind of like on the opposite side of the spectrum. They have the ability to kind of move around and make things happen. And maybe like I don't know what Seattle's situation was last year when their roster was locked and they weren't really able to kind of make any moves outside of kind of the substitutes that they already had set. Um, and I don't know how much they tried to kind of make things work, but I definitely think there is a lack of a certain mindset within kind of the CDL and kind of within Call of Duty players to realistically like make things work with the pieces that you have.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, and build people up and actually you need you need a lot of open-mindedness to really kind of take criticism and uh, to give it out in a constructive way, and I think that's a skill that a ton of players really lack within the C. I mean, look at kind of Clayster's situation. I think Clayster is an excellent example of how you can make the best out of what you're given. Time and time
True.
again, he's put
True.
in kind of lesser situations that lesser players, maybe even players that maybe have better gun skill than him, better strategy than him, they wouldn't be able to make those rosters work because they're not Clayster. They don't have the kind of the competitive mindset, the mindset to improve and to give kind of his teammates the benefit of the doubt and really work with them to make the best out of the situation in the hand that they're dealt.
Oh, for sure.
So
He is. I mean, like, I'm sure that Revan is also working pretty hard for the subliners, but Clayster, I mean, there's a reason why he has back-to-back rings right now. Like
yeah,
he knows what the fuck he's talking about. He's been
yeah.
doing this longer than
So
just about everybody else.
I
So,
think kind of my ending point with kind of the locked rosters is there's obviously cons to it. Like obviously, if you could get a simp as your sub or an Abizi or whoever, like a player that's at a much higher peak currently than one of the other players that you have, then it's obviously an instantaneous improvement, and maybe you work better with them on kind of like a personal level. But it's not impossible to make a winning roster out of what most people would consider scraps, and that's kind of looking at the Paris Legion, and that's also kind of looking at this New York Subliners roster, and I think players kind of need to adapt a better perspective of the game and kind of the players in the league. I think they need to kind of be a bit more open-minded to the possibilities, kind of like Clayster. But I think that's a great transition into our last Saturday matchup, which was the New York Subliners taking on the Toronto Ultra, a match both you and I thought could be a bit of a dangerous one for the New York Subliners, maybe even more so after that incredible 3-0 over the London Royal Ravens that the Ultra did have earlier this past week. But New York, they came in confident and they won it 3-1 in the end. It was a relatively close battle up against the Ultra, but New York did come out on top. And I want to give a shout out to Asim since, I mean, he posted it about on Twitter after the matchup, but he pretty much just got back from a funeral like an hour or two before he had to go into that match. And kind of the emotions, I can't imagine he was in an amazing mindset going into that. And he absolutely did his job and did his part in kind of bringing the team that victory there. So huge props to his team.
yeah, no, 100%. Um, yeah, I shoot. I think that about wraps it up, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Well, with that, we'll move on to Sunday, Easter Sunday. where we had the Atlanta FaZe taking on London Royal Ravens. That was a swift 3-0. London Royal Ravens, they did not have a good time this weekend. They lost both their series 0-3. But this was kind of what we were expecting out of Atlanta. We were expecting them to bounce back, and that they did. And so I don't think there's really too much to talk about there. So we'll move on to the more interesting 3-0 that happened yesterday as we're recording this, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. In the Battle of LA, LAG versus LAT. It was a hot 3-0. LAG smoked the LA Thieves. Granted, they did have to sub Kenny out for temp due to some minor, I guess, health scare with Kenny. Not too sure what was
Yeah. No.
going on there.
Still no clue what's going on.
But
I'm just hoping he's
temp came
okay.
in. They did not perform well, obviously. Silly kept up his stellar performance kind of from that Atlanta FaZe series and handed him the dirty 3-0. And the interesting thing coming out of this is, well, Temp's back out, but now Slasher is out. Slasher's out of the roster. Draza is coming in. So the lineup going into the Stage 2 Major is going to be Draza, TJ, Kenny, and Venom. What are your opinions on this 4-man lineup?
I mean, I think they dropped the wrong person. Honestly.
And by the sound of it too, Kenny's been asking to be benched or traded,
Kenny
which
is?
is not what you want.
No shot.
Based on something CDL Intel, Kenny asked to be benched or traded a few weeks ago via his live stream Twitch. Something that they have there. So to me, that's telling me right now, this LA Thieves roster, it's dead. They're dead. Like they're not going to be ready for anything at least until kind of Champs is around, because maybe then they finally get their shit together and understand that, hey, your jobs are on the line. Like Nate Shot's not going to put up with this kind of bullshit, to be honest. Like he picked these guys up because they showed him they got him a second place and 2 championships
Right.
during BO4. But if this is kind of the effort and look that they're going to give him in the CDL after they bought a very expensive spot, he's not going to be happy. He's going to be fucking furious. So, like, if you do not look good, if you do not put in the effort, you're out, guaranteed, 100% guaranteed. And the only thing that can probably save these guys is Buddy Mud Dog and J Cap.
Yeah.
Which I get J Cap out of there too. What the hell is he even doing?
I don't know. Posting lukewarm takes about the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
I don't know.
LA Thieves. They're in a bad spot. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I just saw and confirmed it. That's kind of unbelievable that Kenny has to be benched. I mean, like, yeah, I honestly, Nate Shot's best bet is to like I don't know,
It's
bring in
not a
bring
good look.
bring in a bunch of rooks and
I
see what
mean,
happens. Throw
what
money at it.
Kenny's doing there, is the same thing that we heavily criticized Dashy for last season.
Yeah, I mean,
And so it goes both way. Like this is bad. It's an incredibly bad look, and it makes me lose a lot of respect
well,
for Kenny.
maybe Kenny is just tired of Slasher's bullshit. I mean, like, there's only so much you
That
can
could
put
be
up
it too.
with.
I mean, Slasher's mindset for this online league has by far been the worst out of any pro.
Yeah, I mean, he's been super
Maybe
toxic.
only second to no. It's probably been the worst. Then you probably have Octane kind of right around there. Like they're in
Yeah.
Texas. You got what you wanted. You don't have any excuse. Hell, LAG, they're in LA. They're doing better than you guys did last year.
Yeah.
They beat FaZe. You don't see them complaining and whining. No, they put in the effort.
Yeah.
Like they put in the effort and they don't have a shitty mindset. That's something that like has become so apparent with this online landscape is what players have a terrible competitive mindset and just don't have the drive. And right now it's it's Octane and you got Slasher up there as kind of the prime candidates.
I'm not sure. Like, hopefully, you just bring in a bunch of young talent and hope that it works. Um,
Yeah.
you
They
know,
have their 60 hertz practice servers too now.
yeah. So, yeah, and everybody's in Texas, so it's on Texas fiber. So it's not that much different from a LAN if we're being real. Like they're probably pinging like, less than 10 milliseconds to each other. So, I mean, like they should be fine. I don't know why these guys complain that it's online COD. Like, dude, you guys all live in facilities with fantastic internet connected to other facilities in the
Yeah.
immediate
The
area with
the only
fantastic internet.
teams the only teams not in Dallas is all of LAG are in LA, to my knowledge. Toronto, they're all in Toronto. London Royal Ravens, I believe the majority of them are in North Carolina or something along those lines. Then Florida, they're kind of all over the place. And Atlanta has 2 players in Atlanta, and I'm not sure on Paris's situation. But outside of that, to my knowledge, everyone's in Dallas. So you're pinging pretty darn close to each other for the majority of it. Otherwise, I imagine the servers are in a relatively neutral spot outside of that. Um, yeah, it's just it's crazy. But moving on, I think to the last matchup, which was a crazy one in and of itself, was Chicago versus Dallas. And this honestly, it could have been a 5-0 for Chicago. The first hard point, they did clutch up towards the end and they were almost able to win it, but then Dallas was able to clutch up. So it's kind of like uh, you could kind of say that one realistically, Dallas earned it. And then it was a 3-2. Like I'll say it was a 3-2 because teams make mistakes here and there, and you can't realistically say that they should have won at 5-0 because obviously they made some mistakes to not get the 5-0, and Dallas obviously also made some mistakes in those games. So it's realistically kind of impossible to say, but I loved what Chicago Control loved what they did there on that checkmate. They flooded the fucking point.
They
They got
stacked.
4 down
They
and they
stacked.
flooded the point. It was amazing. Oh my gosh, they didn't get 4 down. Send one guy on some dumbass flank route to their spawn and to have one guy sit in the hill and then the other 2 post up in stupid spots. No, they sent 3 to the hill. They had 4 in there, I think, at one point, and then they had the one guy do the spawn flank route thing, but they stacked the point. Oh, it was amazing. It's so good. You have 3 people on the point. They have to come to you. You're applying the pressure. It's great. It's great. When I said this in a prior podcast and I still stand by it. The way you make offense defense is by stacking the point. You become the defensive team, and the defensive team becomes the offensive team because they have to come to you.
Yep.
They have to get to the point. They have to push you off. They have to expose themselves to get you off the point. So loved, loved that out of Chicago, and they played some really good S&D too, and I think Dallas's S&D, like we said it, I think in the prior podcast, is their weakest game mode, and it's not looking great. And so right now, like there's no way Dallas beats FaZe in a best of 9 simply because their S&D is not looking that great, to put it politely. But did you have any kind of major takeaways from that Chicago Dallas matchup?
Um, Super close games, honestly. I mean, the control was a little bit bullshit. I'm not gonna lie. Like, but I mean, apparently, Easy Matt came out and said that he kind of just got like a crazy camera on Scump and hit him. But I mean,
Yeah,
I
though.
don't know in what world one bullet difference makes in a close quarters environment like that, like sub versus
Yeah,
AR. Like, just that that shouldn't happen. But I mean,
yeah.
it did.
Scump did play that 1v1 a little weird. Uh,
I think he played it fine. I mean, I don't know.
He
Maybe
he
like
waited really long. I thought for certain he was going to climb up on top of the plane
yeah,
wing
going
and
top
kind
plane
of
might have been a better
push
play.
and then fall down
Yeah.
to kind of see instead of kind of pushing the long way. Since he had an SMG, I thought he would try and
Well, he also
get a bit
slid
closer.
and he jumped.
Did he slide? Okay,
He
so that definitely
slid
gave an audio
he
cue
slid
too.
canceled and he jumped because jumping gives an audio
Mm,
cue as well.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I imagine falling down gives one as well, but
yeah, but at
kind
that
of
point
if you're
you're
falling right in front of the person's face, it's a little bit different than sliding and jumping from a distance.
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
like you have a good idea where he's gonna be. I don't know. He could have peeked it, saw that he wasn't gonna be there, and then just went top plane and hopped down.
Yeah, because like
So
in those scenarios, you know where they are. At least you know kind of the area that they are in. Since he couldn't leave the point, he had to stay in it. So they're confined to that like 10 meters square or whatnot. So you have the whole rest of the map to kind of play with and kind of move around to get angles to kind of gather information on where he's kind of holding down a line of sight because he's probably not running around in there. He's probably just kind of sitting down, waiting for audio or for something to happen. He's not just going to run around and expose himself. But yeah, outside of, I mean, they still played a really good control all around. Like that was an insane control, bunch of incredibly close rounds. But Chicago's S&D looked really good, and maybe that was just kind of Dallas's S&D, just kind of the woes that they've been experiencing there. But yeah, all around a really fun and competitive series. But if you don't have anything else, I think we're probably just gonna go right into our predictions
bracket
for the
time,
major.
major bracket time. Are you done
So
yet? Are we just gonna rapid fire these?
yeah, I mean, I don't think there's kind of any external talking points to bring up. I think we kind of brought everything up as we kind of discussed the teams. It was all kind of team related. There wasn't anything that was kind of like an outside discussion. Um, so yeah, I think we're just good to dive into our rapid fire predictions for the stage 2 major.
Yeah,
Sound
I'm
good?
ready. I'm ready.
All righty. Well, we'll kick it off with our elimination round one. It's going to be the LA Gorillas versus the Florida Mutineers. So right off the bat, a pretty fun and interesting one. Obviously, LA Gorillas, they had a fantastic week last week, coming off 2-0 with a 3-0 over the LA Thieves and then that 3-2 victory over the Atlanta FaZe. And they're up against the Florida Mutineers, who had a lackluster showing kind of last week. They lost to Seattle and they lost to the Dallas Empire. So, or did they lose to? Yeah, they. Wait, who did they? Did they even play two matches last week? No, they lost to Paris and Dallas. My bad. They lost to Paris and Dallas last week. So,
Um,
I'm thinking Florida probably bounces back and takes this 3-2 over the Gorillas.
Psych 3-2 Gorillas.
You're taking 3-2 Gorillas. All right, I'm already disagreeing. I love to see that. All right. So I'm going Mutineers 3-2. I'm thinking they're probably going to bounce back. This is kind of usually how it goes for the Mutineers, but yeah, I definitely going to be a fun series to watch. The next one we got Legion versus the LA Thieves. So this is kind of how much faith do you have in this LA? They got Draza coming in. Draza hasn't been doing bad in challengers, but neither was Venom, and he has not really had that great of a performance so far. What do you think's happening?
Um, honestly, 3-1 these.
3-1 Thieves over Legion.
Yeah,
Really?
I'm feeling it. I'm actually
You're
feeling that
feeling it.
I'm feeling that the thieves this roster change might just make things work. It might just kickstart them. You know, they might get a sweet honeymoon. They're unknown variable. Like Paris is gonna have to prep on like challengers tapes for Draza. Like I just and Draza played with him in Modern Warfare, so it's not really like anything out of the ordinary. Like I think that whenever I saw Draza play with Kenny and in Tej, I think that he vibed well with them. The chemistry's there. It's obvious.
This
Um,
would feel so bad for Paris if they lose this.
and Venom's just cracked. Like Venom's just a beast. Like
He hasn't been doing that great.
Yeah, but he's trying to
But
like
that
I
could be the
could be
result of their team.
could be
Yes,
slasher. Honestly, it could be. I
could be.
I I don't think it's a bad call. I mean, JCap's normally the one for blasted takes. I mean, and it sucks to see slasher on a bench, but I mean this just might not be his team. So it
All right.
happens. It happens. I mean, egos clash in a world where there's a lot of pressure on you, and I would imagine that you
Yeah.
know
I'm gonna I'm gonna say Legion take it 3-2. I'm not having faith. I didn't have faith last week. I was rewarded for not having faith in the Thieves. I'm gonna continue to not have faith in the Thieves and continue to reap those rewards. I hope I don't eat those words. So I'm gonna go 3-2 Paris Legion over Thieves. So we're already having some spicy differences in our bracket, even in elimination round one. Moving on to the winners round one, though, we got Optic Chicago versus Toronto Ultra. And whenever I see Chicago versus Toronto, I always get a little worried.
yeah.
Always get a little worried.
Well, no
Just
Zenny, no Wendy. So
I so many flashbacks from last season, though, man. Toronto always did give Chicago a hard time. I don't know what it was, but yeah, I'm gonna give it Chicago. I'm gonna say 3-1. I'm gonna
I'm
say
saying
even though
3-1
Toronto's
Ultra or
matchups in
3-1 Chicago. Sorry.
3-1 Chicago.
Yeah.
Um, the matchups Toronto has lost, though they've been pretty close though, even in those losses though. So this definitely could be a bit of a sleeper one here.
Yeah,
But
but
moving on, we have a rematch of the losers finals from the prior major in the New York Subliners versus the Dallas Empire. So what are you thinking here? You thinking New York's going to come out and get revenge?
uh no. I think it's gonna be close though. I really do. I think that Empire take this 3-2 over the Subliners.
Yeah, I think that's probably a pretty safe bet. The S&D has just been what like worries me, but I mean like Empire they did 3-0 subliners, so they obviously have gotten S&D wins off of them prior. So I don't like this matchup hasn't really gone any other way. The Empire has kind of always dealt with the subliners outside of they had like one close matchup where it went to game 5, but outside of that the Dallas Empire is just kind of swept the subliners under the rug. So yeah, I think I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna say it's got to go a game 5, but I don't really trust the Empire in a game 5. I'm gonna say 3-1 over subliners. Dallas's control hasn't looked bad, so I'm gonna put my faith in Dallas's respawns, but this one's definitely one where I kind of want to go the other way and give it to the subliners.
I mean, I don't think it matters just because whoever wins that's gotta play Rocker. Rocker's gonna fuck either. So
You think Rocker's
yeah,
gonna
Rocker's beast.
destroy either? You
Like
know what? I'm gonna give it to New York. I'm gonna say New York 3-2 over Dallas because I think subliners can beat Rocker, but that's not it for our Thursday matchups because we have elimination round 2. We got Seattle Surge versus Florida Mutineers rematch. This one's interesting. Battle of the Sea Creatures, Battle of the Deep. Who do you got
battle
coming out
of
on top? You got
battle of
Calypso
the
or do you
deep.
got Davy Jones?
Oh wait, for elimination round 2, I had the Gorillas
Oh wait,
winning
you
that.
got
So
Gorillas. My bad.
yeah,
I
nah.
got the battle. I got the more interesting matchup. I got literally Pirates of the Caribbean 3 Calypso versus Davy Jones matchup going on right here. You just got the
You got some crazy stuff going on over there. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I've got Seattle Surge
my
and
matchups
LA
are great,
Gorillas.
dude. I got the Battle of the Deep versus, and then my other elimination round 2. I got the Battle of the European teams. I got Let It Roll Ravens versus Paris Legion. My matchups are way better storylines right now. So just saying. All right,
Uh,
but who do you have? Who do you got coming out on top? Gorillas
Surge
or the
actually.
Surge?
I have
You have
Surge.
Surge?
Surge 3-2.
Surge 3-2 over the Gorillas. This one's a bit difficult for me. Do I does the Mutineer do the Mutineers keep up their aggression from their win over the Gorillas the day prior? I think they got to. So I'm gonna give it to Mutineers.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 3-1 over the Surge.
I would agree with that if the Mutineers win. I think that's a reasonable pick.
Yeah, it's just like we'll have to see. Pristini's has always been an inconsistent player, but he's had 2 weekends where he's been good. So maybe we start to see a consistent Pristini. Wow, that'd be the first time ever. That'd be interesting, man. That'd be like a whole new person. But
Yeah.
our other elimination round 2, I got Lone Roll Ravens versus Paris Legion. You have the LA Thieves versus the Ravens. Do you have the Ravens, given that LA Thieves roster, another nice hot 3-0, or
Nope.
no?
Nope. I actually have the Thieves
No.
rolling over the Ravens 3-0.
Oh my, you have a resurgence of the Thieves. They're running away with it.
Yeah, I think that they have some serious momentum. I think Dross is a fantastic pickup, and this should have happened at the beginning of the season, but here we are. And now that Droz is in, because he's a beast in challengers. Like I don't know, like if you've been watching, but holy Draza, like he's been consistently good. He's been grinding in elite. He's gonna come in here and like him and Venom are gonna play some new kids on the block ball against these teams, and they're gonna get choke slammed.
You
Uh,
got me worrying about my predictions with all this talk. But I'm gonna stick by it. I'm giving this one though, this elimination round. I'm giving it to the London Roll Ravens, 3-2 over Legion. I'm looking for Paul X to have a nice series here on Thursday. But moving into our Friday matchups, we got FaZe versus Optic. I'm thinking this is a 3-2 for FaZe. Would you agree, or do you
ooh,
disagree?
yeah, I disagree. I'm gonna say 3-2 Optic.
Got them winning in S&D.
I have him winning in S&D, and you know
FaZe
what?
did
I
bleed.
I don't feel bad about it at all because Optic is
The gods have bled. It is possible.
and Optic is feeling themselves right now. Like I really think that they're playing probably the best COD they'll play all year right now.
Oh, that's a. Let's hope not for Chicago fans' sake. But yeah, okay, all right. We are disagreeing quite a lot in this stage 2 major. Holy cow! But yeah, I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna say Atlanta 3-2 over Optic. You're gonna have Dallas going up against Minnesota. I think you said you're gonna have Minnesota take it over Dallas.
Uh, yeah, I'm having Minnesota take it over Dallas 3-1.
3-1. I'm gonna give it to New York over Minnesota 3-1. I think that's a safe bet
You know what?
for
I
for
think that
me.
I think that the Subliners could beat the Rocker.
Yeah, I feel like Subliners probably have a better chance of beating the Rocker than Dallas does. Oddly enough, I just don't know why. Like Dallas, it's just been like one of the teams Dallas has struggled with for some reason. And I mean, the last time, even though it was a slightly different Rocker, the Subliners really kind of handed it to them. They gave them really quick 3. Maybe that's kind of something to do with their map set. Maybe New York has a similar map set to Rocker, and so they just can kind of perform better on the maps that the Rocker are good at. Who knows? And maybe Dallas struggles on the map set that the Rocker is good at. That's definitely something I'm working on, making a stat sheet, since I like Breaking Point and I like all the people that make their own stat sheets, but the one that I had created last year, I think it gave us a really nice summary of kind of all the stuff that we really cared about, to give us a quick look at kind of those matchups versus certain teams. So working on that currently. Will hopefully be done this weekend, maybe. I don't know. We're getting more matches. If not, it'll be done before stage 3. Soft guarantee. Don't hold me to that.
Oh my gosh.
Moving on to elimination round 3. I have Toronto versus the Mutineers. I believe you have Gorillas versus Ultra. Is that correct? Or do you have Surge versus Ultra? Elimination round 3.
Elimination round 3. I have Toronto and Surge, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Who do you
So,
have coming out on top in that matchup?
let's see. Honestly, I'm kind of feeling the Surge. I think Surge will take it 3-1.
Field Surge takes it 3-1 over the Ultra. I'm giving it to. Do I want to give it to the Ultra over the Mutineers? Dude, every time Cammy loses, he just looks like he's about to throw up. So I don't feel comfortable giving it to the Ultra simply because of that. It just looks like he's so tilted every time they lose. Uh it is against the Mutineers though. They're so flip flop. Do I just get just the Mutineers just running away with it this all the way into round 4? Do I really want to say that? Oh my gosh, this is hard. I am gonna go like that. This my bracket's wrong. I'll just say it's wrong. I don't believe in it, but I'm still going with it. Mutineers 3-2 over the Ultra. Davy Jones is having a resurgence. He got his
Dang,
heart back. Some crazy shit's going on. They're going off. They're making it all the way
popping
to
off.
elimination round 4. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Well, this is an easier one. Dallas Empire versus Baltimore Ravens. For me, that is going to be an easy 3-1. Let's hope. For you, I believe it's the LA Thieves versus the Dallas Empire.
Or for elimination round 3.
Yes. Oh wait, no, it'd
No,
be New
it's
York.
it's
My
the
bad.
yeah. I have the Subliners versus the Thieves, and honestly, I think this is where the Thieves run ends. I do think that the Subliners are a pretty solid team right now. They're in form. I think they uh, I think they beat the Thieves 3-2.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Moving on to our elimination round 4. This is our Saturday match. I have the Rocker versus the Mutineers. I'm saying Rocker takes this 3-1 over the Mutineers. I think Minnesota right now, they've proven that they're pretty good, pretty good. Just standing guy, solid player, you know.
Yeah,
So
he's
I'm gonna
alright.
I'm gonna give it to the Rocker. I think they're able to make it to that losers semifinal. Who do you got?
Let's see. So we got for me. Let's see. I had Dallas Empire and Surge, and then I have FaZe and Subliners. Um, hmm. Oh, you're talking about winners final?
No, elimination round 4.
Yeah, 4. Okay, yeah. So,
Yep.
um, I didn't know if you did the winners final yet or not. Are you doing that with the elimination round 5?
Doing that after elimination round 5.
Cool.
I'm doing it by the days
Oh,
that
yeah,
they
the
happen.
days. Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
I see now. I see. All right. So elimination round 4. Dallas defeat the Surge 3-1. FaZe take the Subliners 3-2. 3-2 sounds good. And I mean like nothing against the Subliners. I think that they could very well beat FaZe as well, but I don't see FaZe not making it to a major.
Yeah, that's so rough because that's like top 6 right there, elimination round 4. I have Chicago versus Dallas in my elimination round 4. That's a top 6 finish if you lose that. That's rough.
Yeah.
That is really rough, right? Right? That's top 6. Yeah, that's top 6. That's insane that that's a top 6 matchup.
I mean,
'Cause that could easily be like an elimination. That could easily be a losers finals matchup or a winners finals or even the major finals. But
yeah, I mean it's not a good position to be in for any of these teams. So,
yeah,
um yeah,
that's crazy.
that's gonna be a good day regardless of who's there.
That's Yeah, that's going to be a big matchup to kind of catch up to kind of either of those teams. Either if it's you're looking at this other bracket, the kind of the top side or the other side of it, where you got Minnesota, you have Florida, you got Toronto,
Yeah.
Seattle. Like you're looking at that side of the bracket. One of those teams is going to be catch up an insane amount in CDL points after this event, simply because all of the top teams are on one side of the bracket. I mean, FaZe, Subliners, Optic, Dallas, they're all going to be facing off against each other. And so they're going to be messing each other. Like, that's their chance to kind of pull away from their opposition in kind of the top half of the CDL. But then this is also the chance for a bunch of kind of the middle of the pack teams in the CDL to kind of really, really catch up and kind of start to create these divisions within the rankings. But I'm gonna say, dude, this is a rematch after 1 week time for me. Do I think Dallas is going to be able to make enough improvements to beat Chicago?
That's
Like,
honestly like I said, I think Chicago's playing the best COD they'll play all
them
year.
that matchup though was really close against the Dallas Empire. Outside of like the S&Ds, it was really close. Well, actually, how close was the hard point? I can't the last hard point. I'm gonna actually bring up the breaking point.gg. Okay, so Optic blew them out in map 4 hard point. It wasn't even close. So yeah, I feel comfortable giving this to Chicago. Probably 3-2. I'll say 3-2 over Dallas.
It's not super
Uh,
comfortable, you know.
yeah, super comfortable. 3-1 over Dallas.
Yeah,
There,
just a
there,
three two,
comfortable.
3-2. You know,
Three
round 11.
comfortable 3-2. You could have a comfortable 3-2.
No, that's the exact opposite of comfortable.
No, 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 no. It's a comfortable 3-2. Kind of like their last one. That was a comfortable 3-2 for Optic.
The only time it's comfortable is if like you were literally trolling the first two games and then you just turn around and beat the brakes off of them 3 games straight, just reverse sweep. Like, some full sales, some crazy stuff. So,
Yeah.
I
All
mean,
right. Well, elimination round 5. I have Minnesota versus Optic. Who do you have?
elimination final or no, winners final?
Elimination round 5.
Oh, round 5. Oh yeah, I've got Empire and Phase. And similarly,
That's got to be phase,
I have
right?
Phase 3-1 over the Empire.
Okay.
I think the Empire probably take a hard point off of them. You know, I just uh, that's probably the only game mode that I really feel comfortable. Maybe the Surge. I
Yeah.
doubt it
No, I
though.
I
I
would say
doubt it.
phase beat
Probably,
them. Yeah.
yeah. Phase definitely has it though. There's just no shot they don't.
Who do you think comes away with mine? It's Minnesota versus Optic. Bit of a grudge rematch
For a winners
since
final.
elimination round 5. I got
Oh,
Minnesota versus Optic.
well, that's my winners final. So,
That's your winners finals.
yeah,
Is Minnesota? Minnesota's not a winner. Oh, Minnesota is in winners.
yeah,
Oh
they're only
shit.
the
I
fifth
forgot.
team. You know,
Ooh, that's your okay. All right. So my elimination round 5 is your winners finals. All right. Well, I'm gonna say Optic take it 3-1 over Minnesota.
yeah. In my winners final, I have them taking it 3-2.
Okay. All right. I feel a little better now about
Yeah,
that because Optics, they're gonna want revenge against Standy, man. That boy came in and he displayed his
yeah,
talent
it's on
all
site.
over their face.
It's on site for them. Like, he's about to turn heads.
Yeah.
So,
Dashy's definitely gonna want to do better than the last time they faced. But my winners finals is Atlanta FaZe versus the New York Subliners. I've been giving that to Atlanta 3-1 over the Subliners. I think Atlanta's making it to the final. Uh, so elimination final for me is going to be Subliners Optic. Last time these guys fought in the losers, it was a hot 3-0. Again, it was a hot 3-0 for the Subliners over Optic. But this time around, I'm giving it to Optic. I'm saying it's a 3-2 victory over the New York Subliners. Optic goes on to the major final. What do you got for your elimination final?
for my elimination final, I've got Rocker Phase, and I'm saying Phase come at this 3-0 against the Rocker. I think that um, regardless of how good of a player Standy is, I really do think that the FaZe are gonna activate X Games mode, get really motivated by a couple tough losses, and then hit that next level.
Okay. Sounds good. So you're going to have FaZe versus Optic
In the
for your
major
major
final.
final?
Yep.
All right. So we both got the same major final. I have Atlanta FaZe coming from winners. You have Atlanta FaZe coming from losers. However, that doesn't mean anything
No.
since there is no advantage outside of maybe something to do with vetoes, probably, I'm assuming. And I'm going to stick by it. I don't think there's any way a team beats Atlanta FaZe in a best of 9 as of right now. So I'm giving it to FaZe 5-3 over Optic Chicago. Going back to back.
5-3 back to back Atlanta FaZe. And you know what? I'm gonna stick with it. I'm saying Chicago is playing their best COD. I'm gonna give it a Chicago 5-4 over FaZe.
Ooh, that's similar. Didn't you go Chicago 5-4 in the for the stage 1 major predictions?
No, I had FaZe coming out on top in
Did
the major
you?
final. Yeah,
Okay,
like
I think I convinced you at the end of that one simply because of like there's a lot of S&Ds.
yeah, but at the
Or
same time,
something along those lines.
Chicago is playing unfucking real right now. That being said, I
Yeah,
mean,
as
this is
long
gonna
as
be
they don't
knockdown
suffer
drag out.
another collapse. As long as they don't suffer another collapse of 6 weeks. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But that is going to round out our rapid fire predictions for the stage 1 major. And that will round it out for this episode of Just Another Esports Podcast. If you guys stuck around with us until the end, I thank you for listening for the full duration of the podcast. But that's going to do it from us. Hope you guys all have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Later.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Just Another Esports Podcast. Once again, you're joined by me, your host. My mind is fried. Holy cow. Nicholas Shady Bacon, or oh gosh,
You good,
wow.
bud? You all right? You need me to take over?
I'm going, all right, third time's the charm. Let's get it.
Yeah, we'll get it. We saw. Deep breath.